Well, hello. We are here with Caleb McQuaid, who is an SE Codes mentor. I am Leah King. I help run the SE Codes program. And Caleb, thank you for chatting today a little bit about your experience.
Yes, ma'am.
So, why don't we start with you giving us a little bit of an idea about who you are and what your educational background is and what kind of brought you into software development?
Sure. I'm 26 years old. In 2015, I graduated college with a business degree with an emphasis in finance. Throughout college and after, I spent some time in the finance industry. Um, and after a while, I felt like, you know, I needed a little bit more education or certifications to go much further in finance. And around this time, I was also getting interested in computer programming, software engineering. Um, so I had started to do a little bit of learning on my own. I did decide to go back to school, but I decided to go back to school for software engineering. So I decided to take a course at Carolina Code School, which is a 12-week boot camp. And I am currently working at a company called Booz Allen Hamilton in Charleston, South Carolina. And I do full stack development there.
Awesome. So, as a person who did not originally go to school for computer science, what did the path look like for you as you started to, you know, think about software development, take a few kind of online tutorials, and then started realizing that this might be a path that you wanted to pursue?
Yes, so I pursued the free options first, specifically free code camp. That was kind of my first introduction. I also spent some time on Code Academy. Um, But my first introduction to a cohort style organized learning environment was with SC Codes. The first uh, cohort style that I did was back in 2017, and we met once a week with an instructor, and for about 6 weeks, I believe, we went through some free code camp courses. Um, and he helped answer questions for us and help just get us unstuck at points. But that was really beneficial in my learning before I decided to go to the coding boot camp.
Right. So, you go to SC Codes, you realize that that kind of in-person learning style is a good fit for you. You decided to enroll in Code Bootcamp. So, what was that experience like for you?
Uh, when I started my coding journey, I looked at the different ways that people go about breaking into the tech industry. And a lot of people historically have been self-taught. And I tried some of that. And I learned very quickly that I learn much better in an organized setting. There are some people that have a lot of self-motivation and they can really buckle down and get it done in 6 months, a year or two. But I thrive a lot more on the steady pace of meeting on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and having expectations um, that are a bit more external for me. So I learned that I that's how I learn best. But there are definitely other people that learn by themselves.
Yeah. So, tell us about your program. How long was that, and what happened afterwards?
Yeah, so the Carolina Code School was 12 weeks, and we studied full stack development. So we started with HTML, CSS, spent some time in JavaScript, and then we also did backend with Ruby and Ruby on Rails. The last 2 weeks of the course were spent making a personal project. Um, and I graduated from Carolina Code School in November of 2018. And I spent about a month and a half, 2 months looking for a job and was offered a position at Booz Allen Hamilton in Charleston. And I started there in January of 2019, and that's where I currently am.
So, the full I guess, path from deciding this might be something that you wanted to pursue until you ended up being a professional developer? It was just a couple of years.
Absolutely. It took about 2 or 3 years to go through the whole process. And it's different for everyone. I've known people that it only takes them 6 months, and I know people that it took them several years.
For you, though, I think you said you were kind of in and out a little bit. You would pick it up for a while and then put it down for a while. Is that right?
Yes, when I was not in those organized learning sessions, I would typically study for a week, 2 weeks, a month, a couple months, and I would be really passionate about it. But then I would fall off the wagon for 6 months or so. And when I would go back to it and try and pick it up, it was essentially feeling like starting from square one. Um, so I learned that it's very important to build on your learning very quickly and have that steady learning path where you can kind of trudge up that hill at a slow pace.
So, what, I guess, caused you to be interested in, you know, giving back in this way of being an SE Codes mentor so early in your own career?
So when I was learning software development, throughout the entire time, I had people that poured into me and to my learning experience. I had engineers and developers that would answer questions for me, help me get unstuck. And that was really important to my development because I would not have gotten as far as I did without them. Um, so through my development, I uh, committed to giving back to the community and giving back to those more junior than I am in the future. And it's a rewarding way to be able to help others and to help those that are trying to do what I did in the past.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, what has volunteering as a mentor for SC Codes looked like for you up to now?
Sure. In the summer of 2019, we started meeting at the library in downtown Charleston. And we met about once a month, maybe twice a month. And it was a time, a couple hours for people to come and get help with SC codes and maybe get unstuck, have their questions answered. And then it was also a time for me to introduce programming to people and also to help give some advice about the tech industry and share some of my experience and share with them what to expect on their journey.
That's awesome. And you have just completed a specific cohort style class, kind of like what you went through to begin. Tell us a little bit about what that's been like.
We started the cohort in January this year. It was 6 weeks, I believe. We went through the front end basics, SE codes course, and that was really rewarding for everyone involved. The students, I feel like they grasp the material, and it was eye opening for some as to um, something that they might want to participate in further. And this was a good stepping stone for others that have been trying to learn in the past. So I think that these cohorts are a great way for people to further their learning, and it can be a stepping stone to bigger and better things.
Yeah. Um, and this was what, a couple hours a week for you, once a week. So not a huge investment of time, but certainly you've been available on Slack and in person at other times for the students who are interested in learning.
Yes, ma'am. So we would meet for an hour a week, and this was a time for students to ask in-person questions, for the mentors to give examples of different ways that you could use the skills that we were learning. And then also throughout the week, as the students are doing the work on their own, um, we were available on Slack to be able to answer questions, go over some of the things that they were getting stuck on, or help them with their own personal projects as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, in addition to, of course, this being a great way for you to kind of give back because of the folks who helped you get started, what are some of the other kind of benefits that you have experienced from being in front of a class like this?
I only have about a year of experience in the tech industry, so I'm still learning a lot. And being a mentor has really opened my eyes to how far I've come and how far I still need to go. Being a mentor, I'm standing up in front of people and I have to give clear answers to their questions, and that has furthered my learning. And I have to understand these programming languages at a deeper level. So it's been great for my learning, and it's reinforced what I'm doing on a daily basis.
That's awesome. Well, so we know that SC Codes is one of the, really great resources that's out there for people who maybe are thinking about programming as a possible path. Some people may end up going to a code boot camp, whether an in-person one like you did or an online code school, but not everybody takes that path. So for those who may be looking for something different or maybe don't have access to a code school, what are some of the other pathways that you have experienced that people who you're working with maybe have taken?
Sure. A lot of people in the past, there weren't these great resources, so they would spend a lot of time just reading and experimenting on their own. Um, so that is a way that people can teach themselves over time. Another way is you could get a traditional four-year computer science degree. And some people will say that there are drawbacks to that. It's much more theory, practically building things. But there are several different pathways that people that I work with have gone through, and just people all over the country, how they have gotten to their point. They've taken several different paths. Um, but I feel like SE Codes is a great way for people to um, test the waters and see if this is something that they would be interested in doing. It is free to South Carolina residents, so it's a great way to not put in a ton of investment, but also be able to get your feet wet and see, is this something that I enjoy and would be enjoy learning further.
Well, I know it must be very valuable to the students who take advantage of meeting with mentors like you. So thank you so much for giving back your time, and we really appreciate you being a mentor.
Absolutely. Happy to do it.
Thanks, Caleb.